Hi. From time to time, you're faced with an API which has a limit. So it limits the amount of information you can return in one call, either by default or forces you to set a limit. So, for example, if you have 100 records, it will say you can only return 20 in one go, and then you need to go on to the next 20, for example. So how do you deal with APIs like that? I am trying to record the shortest possible video that will help you solve that, because I got a bit stuck and it took me about 30 minutes of Googling to try and figure out how to do it. So hopefully this saves you those 30 or 40 minutes. So my challenge is to make this quick. I'm going to try for 1 minute. Let's see if I can do it. I'm going to use the YouTube API as an example. So here in the middle is the workhorse. What this is doing, it's doing a search on my channel, and I've set the maximum results to 30. There's more videos than that. And looking at the API, it says I will get a page token. And for those of you who are new to this language, pages, think of before infinite scroll was invented, when you went onto a list and it said next, next, next. That is what this is. So it's the next page in the list of content that you're trying to get. In the beginning, when you first start, you obviously want to get the first page to show you what happens. I'm going to leave this blank. I'll explain in a second. So you can now see that in the output, you get a thing called next page token. This is, for want of a better word, the address of the next set of results. In our case, the next 30, because we've put in 30. And what you want to achieve is that you want to have this module running or looping enough times to make sure you get the results from each of those pages. So very simply, the first time it runs, it'll tell you what the next page is. Now the question is, how do I get this information back into the next run? And that's what I'm going to show you next. But before we start, there's one more thing you need to do. At the beginning of a scenario, you need to know how many times you need to do this loop of next pages. So here's how you do that. You look at the API you're working with and you run it. And my suggestion is run it in the least heavy way for you to get just one bit of information. And the bit of information we need is, where's it gone? This here. We need to know what the total number is of the information we need to get back. Then in the next module along, we use that total number and we divide it by the number we're getting back from each page in that API to get the number of repeats, the number of cycles. Think of it as a loop. So now we've got all that set up. We know how much it is. We know how many times we need to repeat it. And now I'm going to show you how to pass those next pages back and forth. So the first time when you run it, you saw that earlier on, we get a next page token. What you need to do is you need to use the set variable tool. Now, all of this, you need a make pro plan or higher to do. Anything below that, this method won't work, so you can stop watching now. In this, you give the variable a name. I've called it next page. The lifetime is one cycle of this repeater, which you've already said. And you give it the token. So it now knows the token. So on the first run, it will spoof exactly this. The next page setting in this is blank, which is correct. And that first run will set this variable. It'll go through and do all the 30 and push it into your destination. In my case, BigQuery, but you can have whatever you want. And, oh, by the way, this YouTube module, all it's doing is getting the stats for each line and pushing it into BigQuery, which is what I want for my content DNA. Then you need to have a get variable, ahead of this API and this get variable, you literally type in next page, which is the variable you set here. So it goes through. The first time it sets the variable, it comes back and hits this repeat loop. So it comes back here, goes through again. It's now got the variable that's been set here, which is the next page, and then goes through all the next pages. Let me run the whole thing so you can see it in action. Let's see, 30 goes back, another 30 goes back, and then finishes off at exactly 78, which is what we've got. Now, when we go in here, the first operation, page token is empty because the first time we don't have one. In the second run, page token is what we were given. And in the final run, the page token is for the final page. So these two are different, which is correct. So whenever you see an API that requires you to go through it this is how you do it. Right after you set the variable, which gives you the next page information, and then right before it, you put in the get variable that gives you that page information. Oh, I messed up. I thought I could do this in 5 minutes, but I haven't. It's about 8 minutes. Maybe a bit of editing will make it shorter. Hopefully, I've saved you a bit of time. What this is doing is I am building my content DNA system for my human in the loop experiment of creating a one-man media business, so to speak. And this then runs, and every week I get a snapshot of each video's performance. The reason why that is useful is because those regular signals are a better way of you being able to see patterns of what's valuable to an audience and what isn't. Thanks for watching.